Welcome friends. We are on the journey of our study of homeopathic remedy Spongia tosta, and we have reached to a part 5, first grade symptoms, which are taken up from Guiding Symptoms of our Materia Medica by Herring. This is a very good study and very enlightening backgroundal study for BHMS students, interns, house physicians, and practitioners at large to recall their memory back if they have been part and parcel of study of guiding symptoms of our Materia Medica. However, before we enter the core symptoms of Spongia tosta, it is essential to understand the foundation on which our clinical selection stands. The guiding symptoms of our Materia Medica by Dr. Herring, the only master who built the text upon cured, confirmed and clinically verified observations. I am Dr. V.K. Chauhan. So this is the front page I am talking about, and there are 10 volumes, a very vast literature which is very difficult to go through word by word. However, certain facts, they stand as under. It contains the cured symptoms. Therefore, it stands as a complement to all previous works in our Materia Medica. The symptoms of each drug are grouped under 48 sections. The arrangement is in alphabetical order. 4 grades are used to denote each symptom according to their relative importance, clinical significance. This helps us tremendously in choice of that particular symptom. All the available work on Materia Medica before the arrival of Herring's guiding symptoms were based on the purity of proving symptoms. We had no other Materia Medica which was based on the confirmatory clinical symptoms. So friends, this is the chart which shows the total workup sections on which this Materia Medica has been built. There are 4 grades given according to the importance of those symptoms, and from mind to relations there are 48 sections. Here each section has been having given color code. So color code red denotes the first grade symptoms where you will find most abundance of them. Mind, upper face, palate, throat, eating and drinking, abdominal, loins, voice, larynx, trachea, respiration, cough, inner chest and lungs, heart, pulse and circulation, and 37 section is the sleep, 44 section is tissues, and 47 section stage of life and constitution. These are very important areas for us. Secondary important areas, second grade symptoms you will find like in the section 2, sensorium, section 3, inner head, outer head, and so on. Next color code which stands at the section 35, rest, position, motion, time, temperature and weather, attacks, periodicity, they probably are denoting the third grade symptoms, and fourth grade symptoms probably are not given here. They stand in black and white. So black color code will be the fourth grade symptoms, most probably. Anyway, let us go ahead to the study of Spongia tosta. Here in the mental generals, you will find that anxiety is the foremost important feature. Looks around anxiously, with the dreams and heat, suddenly nausea, pallor. Associated with nausea, pallor and cold sweat usually is probably with heart attack or respiratory distress where sympathetic tone is much more. Usually after exercise, outdoors, restlessness with attacks in throat. In group with dyspnea, So respiratory distress is there. With every excitement increases the cough. So mental general anxiety is precursor of cough. There is a relationship between cough and anxiety. It has been denoted by anyway Allen's also. So some of the symptoms taken up from Allen's also here. We can recall them. And palate and throat, see, sore throat, worse after eating sweet things, stands here as it is. You see, this is the first great symptom. Eating and drinking, you will find eating and drinking relieves cough. That too also a very, very important modality of Spongia tosta. In abdomen and loins, we have got cramps in abdomen, pinching colic. This colic is related to ascariasis. We go to section voice and larynx, which is 25th section or title. Hoarseness, cough, coryza, laryngeal thysis, very direct symptom, laryngeal tuberculosis. Talking, singing, swallowing hurts larynx. Larynx sensitive to touch, corresponding to thrust of the saw. No mucus rattle, cough, dry and hoarse, causes pain in throat. So dry cough, a typical sensation which has been denoted here, has been given in Allen's Keynote also. In respiratory system, we have asthmatic attack from taking cold, cannot lie down, sibilant bronchi after menses. So these are very classical symptoms of asthma also. Breathing is always tight, cannot inspire, not expire. As Allen tells us, breathing through sponge, expiratory and inspiratory dyspnea is there, and the consequence of goiter, it means there can be a pressure on the respiratory tract or trachea or in laryngeal area, which will cause obstruction to the passage, leading to inspiratory and expiratory distress. Anxious, fears she will die of suffocation. Spasmodic, with organic diseases of heart. Must throw head back, worse at full moon. Worse at full moon has not been given in Allen's Keynote so far, whatever. I could not see it. Now we go to the cough. Cough is dry, barking, hollow, croupy, wheezing, asthmatic, caused by burning or tickling in larynx, dry, with burning in chest, loose, suddenly changing to dryness and hoarseness, without expectoration. This is the hallmark of the Spongia tosta. With chill, incessant, cough, dry, barking with dyspnea, sudden concussion, spasmodic, violent, dry, hollow, wheeze, worse in the evening. Dry or sibilant, sounds like a saw driven through the pine tree or pine board. Each cough corresponding to thrust of saw, hollow, with some expectoration day and night. Hollow in croup of remaining after croup in measles, with a high crowing sensation, sharp whistling, exceedingly painful in croup, hurting larynx. Friends, we go to the inner chest. It is section 28, Spongia. Chronic bronchitis with dry spasmodic cough. Let us go to the heart, pulse and circulation, section 29. Attack of operation and chest pain, cardiac pain, worse lying with head low. This is attack of cardiac pain is angina pectoris. We have associated palpitation, violent with pain, grasping respiration, sudden awakened after midnight with suffocation, with great alarm, with anxiety, valvular insufficiency before catamania, with congestion to chest. So many things are given at one particular place in a very capsule form. Palpitation, violent anxiety, pain, that denotes the attack of operation leading to angina pectoris, as well as acute respiratory distress because of cardiac failure. At night, we have this typical breathlessness, and here this breathlessness is aggravated because of valvular insufficiency, ventricular It is not, sorry, I am talking about certain pathology which is consistent with mitral regurgitation, aortic regurgitation, tricuspid regurgitation, and that too also rheumatic in origin. There has been in childhood rheumatic fever, and he suffered from mitral stenosis. From mitral stenosis, ultimately developed mitral regurgitation insufficiency. Before catamenia, before menses. Why before menses? Because the fluid load increases, and that fluid load causes congestion in the chest, and congestion in the chest causes the respiratory symptoms. Paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea. We are talking about this particular fact. So this rubric is not only respiratory rubric, this is not cardiac rubric, this is about the constitution. Females at the time of premenopausal childbearing age or during pregnancy, these particular things are going to get aggravated. Angina pectoris correspond contracting pain in the chest, heat, suffocation, faintness, anxious, sweat. Let us go to the sleep. It is 37 section. Awakens in a fright and feels as if suffocating. You see, they have divided symptoms in different segments. But once you know that what is the main pathology, ultimately you will find in whole system, whole body at different areas, they will create a different kind of a problem. So these regional symptoms are not important. Mental symptoms are not important. Physical symptoms are not important. The pathology is very, very important at that time. Constitution, diathesis and pathology. Pathology is we have mitral regurgitation, and that too also advanced stage. It is not primary, it is not secondary, it is the terminal stages. In terminal stages, you have no choice except then valve replacement nowadays. If you study the medicine very carefully, in those days such thing was not possible. They could watch the symptoms carefully, they can pen down in classical way, they can make a pen picture, but this particular kind of a advancement in the medicine has developed within last 30, 40 years. We are latest on the scene of medicine where we know best what kind of intervention is possible. Whether in the primary, what is primary prevention, what is secondary prevention, what is tertiary prevention. When he talks about the constitution, he tells you about high risk, and high risk where you have to work, what needs to be prevented, how to preserve the health of the patient, you know. And if something happens like rheumatic fever, how to treat it so that mitral stenosis will not develop. It once mitral stenosis develops, life and conduct and medicine, how to prevent further aggravation of the symptoms. But here what we are talking about, PND is a terminal presentation. Please keep in mind and try to correlate with medicine. Anyway, I am sorry I have taken you a lot of time. Tissue section 44 tells us swelling and induration of gland like goiter, tubercular diathesis. So he talks about tubercular diathesis. At one particular point he talked very frankly of laryngeal tuberculosis, and here this goiter can be a toxic goiter. If there is a toxic goiter, again you can go into the ventricular failure, left ventricular hypertrophy, ventricular failure, cardiac failure, and because of that you have complications like you have atrial fibrillation, atrial flutter. Those symptoms will also be available there to be observed. So anyway, fact, we are reached to the tissue section 44. So that is the last section where you have the red line symptoms or first grade symptoms are present. So I have to tell you only this much. This foundational understanding empowers us to recognize why each upcoming symptom of spongia holds its place and how it guides our clinical decision with precision. With that, I would like to thank you very much for your patient listening and watching this particular video. Please remember, sharing is caring. Thank you so much.